The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Alldus podcast. I'm your host, Ben Sparks, and today we are continuing with our ServiceNow series, interviewing some of the best and brightest leaders, executives, and technical talent from across the ecosystem. Today we are lucky to host Luiz Wolf. Luiz is the Global IT Services Director at Kraft Heinz. Luiz is a digital transformation leader who prides himself on organizational efficiency through innovation, consistent execution. He has established a culture of rapid innovation dedicated to transforming ideas into successful implemented products throughout the business. As well as being leader from a corporate environment, he also has an entrepreneurial background and experience in mobile payment technology, AI engine development, and intelligent chatbot technology. I'm very excited to hear what he's got to say about the evolution of the ServiceNow platform. In today's conversation, Luiz will be talking us through multiple topics, but he's going to touch on mentorship through giving us the story of his career, looking at why ServiceNow is so important to Kraft Heinz. Hopefully he's going to be able to touch on some use cases and the value it's bringing, and then going to be able to talk about some advice for a successful implementation and probably some lessons he's learned on the way. So Luiz, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you and the audience here. Very good. And thank you again for this opportunity.
It's completely our pleasure. Luiz, let's start by giving our listeners a quick overview of who they're listening to. Can you tell us a bit about your career to date and some of the milestones?
I started my career back in Brazil. And in Brazil, I founded three IT companies. And the first one, it was the first payment company using the cell phones. It was some years ago, in the time that the cell phones I can say they were only used to do calls, but we brought the technology to allow cell phones to pay. And then we sold this company. We founded another company that was to do coding. And at that time, we were able to see if Java or if Assembler or any other language, if you are doing the right code. And then it was using predictive analysis and artificial intelligence. And also we had the opportunity to sell this company, and we founded another company that was all about artificial intelligence, business rules, and automation in the process. And that in this point, that's exactly the point I met ServiceNow, because when we are talking about service automation and the process, I had the opportunity to start knowing ServiceNow at that. 5 years ago, I got an invitation to start working Heinz as global architecture. I was the leader of the architecture team. And at that time, we decided that we should have a new ticketing tool. We used to have a Remedy as our ticketing tool, and we were planning to do something in the cloud better. And we did a research, and we decided to go to the ServiceNow. So that is part of my career, and now I'm working here in Chicago as the Global IT Services Director. I manage the service desk, all ITSM staff, and we are using ServiceNow a lot here.
Awesome. So you've navigated a number of different career journeys there, right? As a founder of a business and now in a large corporate one. Before we jump into ServiceNow, look, mentorship is such a big part of this podcast. What have been some of the tipping points of your career? And I suppose, what are some of the lessons you've learned if you look back over that time as an entrepreneur, but also bringing that into a corporate environment?
I would say for me to be an entrepreneur is very interesting because you know how to manage a small business and also medium and big business, because when you start a company, you need to do quite everything. But as you get muscle, you start learning how to have big clients and to deal with big companies as well, different cultures. And I believe having the spirit of entrepreneur is very important, not only to have your own company, but today when you are managing a group, I always say try to be an entrepreneur, try to be the owner of this what you are doing. And I believe the challenge that I faced in my life, it is exactly that. It is to bring this spirit of ownership. It means when you are in the beginning of your career, you don't know exactly what to do. And my recommendation for anybody that is starting a career is think you are the owner of your business. Think you are the owner of the company. And when you need to make a decision, what is the best workflow, what is the best thing to do, think, if I were the owner of this company, probably I will go to this patch. So my recommendation is always try to see your feeling as you are the owner of the company, as an entrepreneur. And if you do that, you see that your doubts will decrease and you have a right path to your career.
I think that's an amazing piece of advice, and it's really interesting that probably not a piece of advice people would think of when transitioning to a corporate organization, but still feeling that sense of ownership is remarkable. You touched on your job title and a little bit about your responsibilities, but I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. Global IT Services Director. So what are you specifically responsible for, and what is your remit within Kraft Heinz?
So I have some responsibilities. I will say three different ones. The first one, I'm responsible for all field services in the company. We have 100 field technicians in the field, and they needed to solve the local problems. And as with the COVID, it was a big challenge because people started working remote, and our team that used to be in the locations, they needed to start helping these people a new way to work. So it was a revolution. And we have this arm of people, and today they are very knowledgeable in terms of not only helping people in the local, but also how to help these people remotely in a new way to work. We are also prepared to the return to the office. That's my area that I need to have more attention right now because everybody is returning to the office and my team needed to support that. So this is one area. The other area I have is the global service desk. So we manage about 20,000 tickets per month. It's to solve critical incidents, requests, problems, all this stuff. So everything managed by ServiceNow right now. My field service team also, they use ServiceNow. I have another area that is all about transformation, then the business transformation. Then we are responsible to put more automation in terms of using chatbot, artificial intelligence to bring better user experience to the user. In fact, what we do is we see opportunities to transform regular human tasks in artificial intelligence tasks. So in this area is the area we are growing most because we are bringing a lot of new things to the company, decreasing the time to do things, and also saving money. And in the top of everything is the user experience that is becoming better and better.
Fantastic. Can you give us a summary of which areas of ServiceNow that you're specifically live with at the moment in your area of the business?
Yes, I was responsible for the initial implementation of ITSM ServiceNow. That is, we used to have a remit, and we put a team here, and we did this implementation. And from remedy, we moved to the ServiceNow. In my area, we are responsible for the entire ITSM, responsible for tickets, incidents, and IT bots. And I would say ServiceNow is my primary tool. I have about, I would say, 500,000 CIs in terms of our CMDB. So we have there all computers, servers, applications. We have the relationships there. We manage the tickets, the knowledge, and we manage the day-by-day activities here. But all the time, we use ServiceNow. We have about 1,000 solution people. They are what we call ITIL users. They are responsible for solving incidents and requests. And yeah, we primarily use ServiceNow to do all management in terms of ticketing and also requests and new catalog items. We also have other business areas here. We have human resources. We have ITBM that manages the projects. And yeah, we are growing very fast. We are trying to bring it to the ServiceNow other business areas like finance and in the field to the ServiceNow. We will manage much more workflows and the ticketing is using ServiceNow.
It sounds like it's adding so much value across the business. So I know when we first spoke, you gave me some project examples. I'd love to dig into those a little bit for our listeners and some of the specific values that the ServiceNow has brought. Do you mind talking me through a couple of those?
Also, of course, that it is. Let me start with that I believe is really good to share. When you use ServiceNow, you have two approaches. You can do workflows and have the flow approvals and everything, and you can have a full automation. It means you can do a full transaction without any human resource involved. It's full automation. In our boarding process, when you contract a new employee, we used to spend 3-4 days to assign transactions, access to files, and all these requirements when you start in the company. For instance, you are starting here, then you need to access SAP, you need to access some folders and this kind of stuff. So it was a very hard task to be done because you need to get approvals, a lot of people approving this, and you can do here and there. So we put one ServiceNow automation using Integration Hub that is a hub that allow you in ServiceNow not only to create workflows, but to communicate with Active Directory, for instance, and SAP, and you can do real-time transactions. 3-4 days to assign transactions to the new employees, we decrease this to minutes. 2 minutes we can assign everything. And it's all about automation. We receive information from Workday, and based on the information you are boarding, we do the full automation in ServiceNow to provide this access to people. It was a big achievement here because, see, when you board someone and they need to wait 4 days to get access to the system, you are losing 4 days of your workforce and horrible user experience. So doing that, we increase a lot of the user experience. People got happy because in the first day they can start working. And also we decrease a lot of these unnecessary workflows and all approval process because we did this all using automation in ServiceNow. This is one of the benefits we saw. This is very material. We decreased from 3-4 days to a minute. That is great. Another one that I'd like to share, Ben, is returning to the office is a problem. And we know that people are facing a lot of issues because they need to return. We have new rules, and now we have this kind of hoteling. Using ServiceNow, we create flows to allow you to see where you can work and to assign your table and to do the best knowledge for you when you receive an invitation to be back, where you're going to sit, what kind of computer you're going to receive. So all this workflow is managed in ServiceNow, and you can see exactly where you are. So we see a lot of benefits. And what I would say, if I didn't have ServiceNow, I was not able to allow people to be back with this all capabilities in days, because we received the notice that we're going to be back and we need to react to this very fast. And having ServiceNow, it allowed me to create low code and some new transactions there, and people can start working from day one and to return it to the office having very good experience. So I would say it's not all about automation, but agility, because I used this to something that I even didn't know. It was not planned that this return to the office, and we did this very fast.
You are listening to the Alldus Podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Looking back at big projects, and I'm guessing there was some challenges. I'd love to know a little bit more about the roadmap about those and what made them successful, and maybe some of the challenges that you faced to play that experience forward a little bit.
Yeah, I would say ServiceNow is a journey. Is a journey. We have more maturity in some areas. We don't have in other ones. But I would say one of the most important thing when you start with ServiceNow is to get the knowledge. That's one interesting part. Some people will start creating workflow and put automation, and the challenge is if you don't know how to do this before you start the automation is a big challenge. And I will give you some example. We had people complain and ask us to put a new catalog item in ServiceNow, to ask for instance, a new device, and then we created this catalog item in days, and suddenly we see nobody's using it. So the challenge is everybody wants to put automation. Everybody wants to have their process in ServiceNow. But how can I measure if I will succeed doing that? So I would say the challenge is, first, you need to have all knowledge. You need to understand exactly what the business case is before to start. When you start a new catalog item, somebody asks you to put some automation, I believe the key question is what you will bring to this company having this done. You are going to save money, you are going to bring more sales, you are bring more user experience. As you put this, you need to measure against what you have planned. Otherwise, you create in ServiceNow a lot of catalog items and a lot of new transaction, but people are not using. So that's why my recommendation in this journey is take care about getting the right requirements, the business case, and make sure before you start automation that you have the right knowledge to do that, and you know how to measure if you are succeed or not in your journey.
That's fantastic advice, and it seems like you've done a really good job at navigating the expectations of your stakeholders, but obviously then showing that value on the back end. But if you were to sit in front of a CEO, is there any more macro advice you would give around transformation in a business? What should come first, or what should be front of mind for a business leader in your eyes?
This is a very good question. In ServiceNow, at these days, they create what we call foundation. They didn't have this framework before, but now ServiceNow is helping the clients to start in this journey. So if I would give a recommendation to a CIO is try to see if you have the foundation to create ServiceNow. In this foundation, I would say, do you have the CMDB, all servers, applications inside of the system? Do you have the relationships there? Do you have owners for the process? So ServiceNow has a framework. They call this as a foundation framework. And I strongly recommend for any CIO or anybody that is starting this journey to have a look and match in what kind of maturity you are. Because in some cases, if you don't have this foundation and you are trying to put automation or create a workflow, chances are you are not going to be succeed, because you create a new transaction or you create a new workflow, but you don't have data enough or information enough even to start. And why you need to make sure that in this journey you have the minimum to start. And I believe in these days, ServiceNow did a brilliant job creating what they call the foundation.
So you were front and center with Kraft Heinz initial implementation. You've got a background in AI and in intelligent chatbot technology. I think it would be a waste if I don't ask you about what your predictions are, just in your opinion, of the future and where the ServiceNow platform will evolve to. What's your view on that? For our, as we spoke before, we've got quite a large artificial intelligence audience as well. What do you feel is next for the platform?
That's a very valid question. I would say in two areas. First, ServiceNow is going out of IT, and everything that we know and we do very well in IT, we are replicating this in other business areas. So I would say first, ServiceNow is allow us to bring it to other company business areas like human resources or finance, the same discipline we have in IT in terms of change management, configurations, and this kind of knowledge management. So this is the first thing that ServiceNow is doing, and I believe that's the trend. It's not only to use ServiceNow for IT, but for other business areas. The second trend is about artificial intelligence. So I would say chat, it will be the major transformation. People don't want to open tickets. They don't want to start typing. They want to talk to computers. They want to say, I have a problem. Or even better, before you have a problem, using artificial intelligence, I can say, oh, I see your computer is struggling to solve an X. So before you even start in open a ticket to saying that your computer is low, I can go to your computer, add more memory, and to do some predictive things before even to open the ticket. So I believe this predictive action, not analysis, we have a lot. We have a lot of reports in the world. We have a lot of report analysis. We need action. And I believe ServiceNow is a system of action. So you can see, for instance, you have an article in the company explaining you how to ask for your vacation. And when you try to use that, you get a very bad experience. And you can say in the chatbot, I didn't like your answer, didn't solve my problem. And automatically, the artificial intelligence can see that and say, hey, I need to change this because this answer is not working for this guy. So let me see the answer that I gave it to other people that is solving. So this is in real time. I'm not talking about something in the future, but I'm talking something that is real. We can do this today, is to do predictive, is to put more automation, and based on your feedback to the system, automatic changes in the knowledge article or the way I react to some incidents.
That's absolutely fascinating. And I must admit, we've heard about chatbots and artificial intelligence in ServiceNow, but we've not had many people talk about the predictive side of it. So that was really interesting. But just before we close, you spoke before about being an entrepreneur, right? Bringing that ownership into the environment. You've been at Kraft Heinz, what, 7.5 years now. What advice would you give to yourself if you were to go back, let's say 5 years into your journey? What advice would you give to yourself?
I would say I would spend more time thinking about if I have the knowledge before thinking that I have the knowledge. To explain is, I don't know what I don't know. But sometimes I need to investigate if I know everything that I don't know. So I would spend more time investigating the data I have, if I have already the fundamentals to work before starting working in projects or to do things to solve the problem. Sometimes the solution is already in the team. People knows already what needed to be done. We don't need reports. We don't need everything. It's only to ask, hey, my friend, how do you solve this? And sometimes we miss the very basic thing, that is get the information that you have already. And this information, sometimes they are not in reports. They are in people, and they know how to do that. So they know the best way to do that process. So if I start my career right now or in ServiceNow, I would say I would spend more time asking what they believe should be the best for that process or for the company.
I think that's amazing. No, and some amazing advice there. Thank you. Look, Luiz, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it. You've definitely given us a lot to think about. I really appreciate you being part of the podcast, and I wish you all the best on your journey in for the rest of ServiceNow. It seems like it's going to be an exciting one.
Thank you so much. And I hope my ideas here can be shared, and I'd like to get input from my colleagues as well, because we always learn something when we talk to the people, correct? That's exactly the beautiful of the work.
Indeed. It's people first, and then the rest of it all falls into place. So I think that's a really good way. Thank you very much, Luiz.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.